are live. Just going to get this posted out to social media. As long as YouTube will allow me to change the title of this. All right. Make sure that we can get the chat up as well, because I know that's been a thing of the past. All right, looks like we've got that up and changed the title. And momentarily, we will be ready to roll after a busy day at Oakmont Country Club. Round one is pretty much complete. There might be a group or two that's left out there, but pretty much everybody in the everyone that's in the leaderboard that is really going to be talked about today, they are in the house. And so welcome to, again, our ESN's US Open Round 1 recapping today. We'll do it again tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, just like we've done for the first two majors of the year. PGA Championship wasn't able to get as many recaps in. Masters, we got recaps for every single round. We'll be doing that as well for the Open Championship next month. But as far as today goes, interesting leaderboard. Let's just go right down the list here. JJ Spaun with a bogey-free 66 is the outright leader. He started on the back nine, went out in 31, came in with a 35. 4 birdies all coming on. Technically his first 9, but the back 9 at Oakmont birdied 10, 12, 16, and 17. Got himself, that's all he needed were those 4 birdies, 14 pars. Just remarkable stuff to go bogey-free at Oakmont. And he did it with the putter. Gained over 4 strokes putting. That's the second best performance putting of the day. Tristan Lawrence, who made a name for himself last year at the Open Championship. He shot 67, had a double on 9, also bogeyed 2, but mixed in a lot of birdies, and he was able to go 35-32 for a 67. And then tied for third, you've got Siwoo Kim, Brooks Koepka, and Sungjae Im, all at 2 under. An interesting group of names there. Ben Griffin, Thomas Dietrich, John Rahm, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, and James Nicklaus are all tied for 6th at 1 under. James Nicklaus, he is a qualifier, came out of the New Jersey qualifier at Canoe Brook Country Club, where he won that final qualifier, shot 7 under, went 67-68. He's from Scarsdale, New York. So really cool story brewing there with James Nicklaus firing a 1 under 69, birdie 10 and 17, threw it a bogey at 16, but got himself in the house and was a cool guy to watch coming home down the stretch there. He was one of the later guys that was on Peacock, if you were able to catch the tail end of that. Adam Scott, Robert McIntyre, Russ Henley, Denny McCarthy, Jordan Spieth, Colin Morikawa, Cameron Young, Bud Cauley, and Ryan McCormick are all at even par. They're at T11. We'll go over any other interesting names. Victor Hovland is at 1 over. He made a little bit of a run, birdieing 9, 10, and 11. Kind of went up and down as he was able to finish today. Shot 71. He's sitting at 1 over at T20. Let's see some other names. Matthew Pavon was up there for a while, but he's faltered on what was his back 9. The course's front 9, shot 39 coming in, shot 32, which is 3 under going out. That gave him a 1 over 71. Mark Leishman was in the mix for a little bit, got himself up there. He's at 1 over. Also at T20, Xander Schauffele is at 2 over. Ludwig Oberg is at 2 over. Let's see, going down the rest. Corey Connors was a guy that a lot of people were pretty high on. Maybe a guy with some longer odds you might want to bank on. He shot 2 over at that T33 group. Got Bryson DeChambeau at 3 over. Scotty Scheffler at 3 over. Tyrrell Hatton and Patrick Reed also joining a large group at 3 over. Everyone there is T49. Rory McIlroy did not speak to media afterwards. We'll talk about that again. He shot 4 under, part of a cluster at T62 with Matt Fitzpatrick, Wyndham Clark, Tommy Fleetwood, Hideki Matsuyama. Let's see, Phil Mickelson, Eduardo Molinari, who actually led the field in strokes gained putting today at gaining 4.30 strokes on the field, but pretty much lost strokes everywhere else. Any other interesting names down here? Cam Smith, 5 over. And that's really about it. Dustin Johnson, last champion who played Oakmont, won it in 2016 at the U.S. Open, 5 over par. All right, let's start with what JJ Spaun did, because this is truly a remarkable round. Getting himself in the house bogey-free at Oakmont it's not unheard of, but it's pretty darn rare when you're able to do that. And again, like I said, he did it putting, and you look at the rest of the really almost everybody in the top 20, they're gaining shots tee to green. JJ Spaun gained 4.43 strokes gained tee to green, but off the tee, he didn't gain that much, only 0.8 of a stroke. Where you look at some of the guys right behind him, everyone in the top 5 gained at least 1.3 strokes, with Sung J M gaining over 2 strokes off the tee. And JJ Spaun wasn't really able to gain a ton off the tee, but was solid with his approach shots, gaining 1.85 strokes on approach and nearly 1.8 around the green. But the putter really came in handy today. It's incredible stuff to go out in 31, which is super low, and then come back in, just parred his final 10 holes and played it really simple. That's what I was saying in our preview show yesterday, is that there are low scores out there at Oakmont. So what this means is for guys who are sitting back in, that 1 over, 2 over area, it's out there. There's a 66 lurking. And quite frankly, it could have been more, because he parred 10 in a row. So there might be even more strokes to be had out there to where he could get even better. And he didn't drive the ball all that well, only hit 8 of 14 fairways, contributing to that lower strokes gained off the tee, which I think makes that even more impressive, because to play at Oakmont, you really need to be precise. You have to be precise off the tee. You need to be precise where you miss, if you miss off the tee, and then you have to be precise when you're approaching those greens. Where do you miss? Or even when you hit the green, where are you landing the ball? A lot of people have been talking about, like, one specifically, you can roll it up there. There's a lot of different ways that you can play the first hole. Well, you have to be able to hit it in the right spot. It still comes down to that all the way around from tee to green. You have to be able to miss in the right spot and hit it in the right spot. And that's exactly what he did today. It's not like, some of those PGA Championship venues where you can pretty much hit it anywhere on the golf course, and as long as you have a shot, you're fine. Not the case here. So JJ Spaun, we saw him at the Players, went into playoff with Rory McIlroy, ended up faltering in that one, didn't have the best playoff, but finished second, had a really impressive showing. Also was T2 at the Cognizant Classic in March as well. Didn't have the best Masters, finished 50th. Didn't have a good week after that at the RBC Heritage, T42. But then went T17 at the Truist, a T37 at the PGA Championship, and then a T6 at the Charles Schwab Challenge before missing the cut at the Memorial. It's unexpected for him to go this low, and I think the bogey-free part is the wildest part of the whole equation. That is just something that no one was expecting, certainly for JJ Spaun, and I think he would admit it too, that even he wasn't expecting to have that kind of performance. And this is only his second U.S. Open that he's played in, which I think further makes it impressive. He missed the cut at the 2021 U.S. Open, so this is just the third round of U.S. Open golf that JJ Spaun has played, and already he's off to a blistering start, and he is going to be the leader after Thursday, which is very impressive stuff. But like we've talked about before, we talked about at the Masters, talked about at the PGA Championship, and we're going to talk about it here and at the Open as well. How do you follow up a really low round? Probably for JJ, I think a great round tomorrow would be even. If he just maintains 70, and I think he would sign up for that right now. If you were to say, and it'll be fun to revisit this tomorrow night for our live show to say, okay, where is he at? Where is he at? And where is the lead at? If, let's say the lead I'm anticipating will go a step back somewhere, or it will hang around that 3 under, 4 under mark, even would look really nice. And even if the lead bumps up to 5 or 6 under, that's still a great position to be in, because you're expecting the lead to drop back down at some point. My prediction was 1 under. I flipped it from 1 over to 1 under. I'm wondering if that was a little too low. Because remember, we went through the scores yesterday from all the previous U.S. Opens, and it's 4 under, 5 under all over the place, with the exception of 2007. So we're right at where, at least history says, that's about where the winner will be, is at 4 under. So 70 tomorrow, I think, would be a great round for Spaun, and it would allow him to, make a couple mistakes, but if he can keep making birdies, especially if he makes another 4 birdies tomorrow, he probably won't shoot anything worse than 71 or 72. And it's like we talked about with Scottie Scheffler at the PGA Championship after round 3. When he did all of his work on Saturday, so then Sunday he could coast to the finish. Now, he made it a little interesting halfway through the round, but he still forced everyone to chase him, and everyone else had to go out there and make the shots, while Scottie Scheffler could just play Scottie Scheffler golf and win the title. Now, JJ Spaun and Scottie Scheffler aren't on the same level. However, JJ Spaun might have done a lot of his work today, allowing him to shoot that 70 or 71 tomorrow, which is why I'm saying I think 70 would be a really great score for Spaun tomorrow. And he no worse than, you would think no worse than top 5. It would be shocking if he falls out of the top, really, even if he falls out of the top 3, but especially if he should be solidified a top 5 spot and be in one of the final couple of pairings on Saturday, should he shoot 70. So I think that would be the mark for JJ Spaun tomorrow, as far as that goes. Let's talk a little bit about Tristan Lawrence. Again, his coming out party was last year at the Open, where no one knew of this guy. He's someone who has been on the DP World Tour for quite some time, and he got his PGA Tour card, and it has been a really rough go for him. Made the cut at the Mexico Open, finished T59, finished T54 at the Puerto Rico Open, has been missing cuts in every other event other than that, other than those made cuts. And it's been a tough year for him. He did finish T4 at the Soudal Open on the Euro Tour, but then followed that up at the KLM Open with a missed cut. And then he was in the KLM Open, that was in the Netherlands, and he goes from all the way out there to flying into Oakmont and walks away finishing second. It's it's impressive stuff. He's only played in one other U.S. Open, missed the cut in 2023. He missed the cut at the Masters, missed the cut at the PGA Championship this year, missed the cut at last year's PGA Championship. So again, he's kind of thrusting himself out of left field into the mix here. Did it with putting as well, gained 3.5 strokes putting, was a little bit better off the tee, gained 1.5 strokes there. A little bit less impressive around the greens his approach compared to JJ Spaun, but still gained over 1.25 strokes on the field. And tee to green, he was over 4 strokes gained there as well. So we'll see what Tristan Lawrence can do. I think he's certainly a surprising name again that we see at the top of the leaderboard, but he did prove that he could hang around at the Open Championship, and those are some pretty brutal conditions last year, and he hung on for 4th. So perhaps maybe we'll see Tristan Lawrence be right there once again and hang around at the U.S. Open. But tomorrow will, I think, say a lot about how the rest of the week will go for Tristan Lawrence. Siwoo Kim had a horrible putting day, lost over a stroke putting, 1.23 strokes is what he lost on the putting green. But check this out for approach shot. He gained over 5 strokes on approach and was number 1 strokes tee to green, gaining 7.85 strokes. So he nearly gains 8 strokes tee to green. That's number 1. Gains 5.25 shots on approach. That's number 1. That's what you got to do. And he got away with some pretty poor putting. Hit 14 of 18 greens, drove the ball all right, 9 of 14 fairways hit. That's one thing I didn't mention with Tristan Lawrence. He hit 11 fairways, so precision off the tee. That's important. That's second for driver accuracy. When speaking about Lawrence, 9 of 14, again, for Siwoo Kim. And he's a fun guy to watch. He's someone we talked about at the PGA Championship as a guy that would be a fun guy to root for if you're somebody who doesn't have anyone on the PGA Tour and wants to maybe root for a non-favorite. But Siwoo Kim put himself in good position. He also started on the back nine, went out in 33, came in at 35, birdieing 11 and 13 on the back nine, birdieing 6 and 7, and bookended those birdies with bogeys on 5 and 8. Brooks Koepka, the 2017 U.S. Open champion, had an eagle on 4, went out in 33, came in at 35, birdieing 17 and 18, a couple of big birdies there to get himself in the house at 68. Pretty steady round from Koepka, gaining about 1.5 strokes putting, over 2 strokes around the green, 1.65 on approach, 1.33 off the tee, and tee to green 5.15. But as I mentioned, everybody who is in the top 20, with the exception of Mark Leishman, who lost 0.28 strokes tee to green, everyone not just gained strokes, but gained at least a stroke, pretty much at least 1.5 strokes. And that's 32 players in the top 20, because it's there's a bunch of ties there at 20th. And you even go back to the guys who are at T33, which is 2 over. You only have Jackson Koivin, who lost strokes tee to green. So that's the important thing, is gaining strokes tee to green, and also off the tee. A lot of green and light green for gaining strokes off the tee. So it's so important, that precision. Even though right now it's favoring the Bombers, you still need to be precise. You still have to hit the shots when you need to. But Brooks Koepka getting himself back in the mix. Could we see him challenge here at Oakmont? That would be that'd be something if we see him make another return after, they mentioned this on the broadcast, after the PGA Championship. It's been tough sledding for Koepka. He hasn't been able to put together really any good performances at the major championships. Missed the cut in both of the Masters and PGA Championship this year, a T26 at last year's US Open, T43 at the Open Championship. Just not stuff that we're accustomed to seeing with Koepka at the majors. He's usually in the top 10 and top 5 like he was a handful of years ago. So it's good to see him back in the mix again. And this is kind of coming out of nowhere. Even this year on LIV, he did finish second in Singapore, but that was mid-March. T18 at Miami, T30 at Mexico City, T17 at Korea, and T33 at last week in Virginia. So nothing really impressive there, but he's able to, once again, find it here at the majors. And just when you think he's out, and just when you think, well, have we seen the last of Koepka? No way. He's able to find himself right back in the mix, and he's certainly one of the main contenders. Sungjae Im is a surprising name that's also tied for third with Koepka and Siwoo Kim. It's been an up and down year for Sungjae. He did finish T5 at the Masters. However, he missed the cut at the RBC Canadian Open. Finished then going back T16 at the Memorial, missed the cut at the PGA, T23 at the Truist, T33 at the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. It's been up and down, up and down. Did finish last year and beginning of this year, came on strong, had a T4 at the Farmers Insurance Open, but then had a really tough stretch. And again, kind of a little bit of a surprise to see him up in the mix at US Opens. He's missed the cut in his last 3 starts in 2024, 2023, 2022. Last time he made the cut was 2021 when he finished T35. So Sungjae, he's still only 27 years old, and there's a lot of great golf ahead of him. It seems like he could be a major champion one day. Who knows? Maybe this week could be his week. He gained 2.69 strokes around the green. Again, over 2 strokes off the tee, over 5 strokes tee to green. Did it with the putter as well, gaining a stroke and a quarter on the putting surface. Birdied 12, 13, and 14 to get himself. He was on the back 9 for starting, went out at 3 under, came in at 1 over. Birdied 1 and 2 on the front 9. Ben Griffin, the TikTok superstar, has been playing some of the best golf. He's one of the hottest players of the world right now, and he finds himself in the top 10 here at the majors. Thomas Dietrich, a little bit of a surprise to see him at 1 under, but it's no surprise to see this next name of Jon Rahm. Lost about half a stroke putting, but off the tee was outstanding. Gained 3.5 strokes off the tee. That's number 1 out of the field. Gained over 2 strokes on approach, and birdied 3, eagled 4. Everything else was pars and 2 bogeys on 6 and 11. Got himself into a really good spot. I think if he matches the 1 under that he shot today, I think he's right in the mix. I think that is as dangerous as seeing Brooks Koepka up there. I think those two wouldn't be surprising if we see them end up on a collision course to pair up either on Saturday or Sunday in one of the last 2 or 3 pairings. I mean, those guys they rise to the occasion. Jon Rahm and Brooks Koepka, both U.S. Open champions. Rahm winning in 2021 at Torrey Pines. And he's really starting to find his form here in the majors. Had a little bit of a down year for his standards, but he's one of the top 5 players in the world. He certainly would have liked to have had a little bit better results than what he put together last year, which was T45 at the Masters, missed the cut at the PGA Championship, didn't even participate in the U.S. Open, did have a good Open Championship at T7, but this year, T14 at the Masters, T8 at the PGA Championship. It would be shocking if he's outside of the top 10, and really where he's at right now, and looking at some of the guys on the leaderboard and also guys that are right behind him, it'd be shocking if we see him outside of the top 5. I think he would really have to have one of those typical U.S. Open rounds where the U.S. Open really chews him up and spits him out. That would be something that I would look at for Jon Rahm. Colton asks, is the weather expected to soften up the course tremendously? Not that I've seen. I believe the weather is supposed to be really nice for Oakmont for the rest of the week. I know it looks like tomorrow it's just going to be tomorrow's there is going to be a little bit of rain in the morning and then just some clouds, maybe a little bit more rain, but they're expecting not a ton, it looks like, for tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see, Colton, if that does affect a lot of softening up the course. I mean, if you've watched the broadcast, which I'm guessing you have, they've talked a lot about the stimp meter and how it's rolling at a 15, which is just like mind-boggling quick. I would guess Oakmont is going to have enough drainage and enough, they have the resources to take care of the course, and I think it won't play too much of an effect. I'm curious about the wind, and that's only showing about 5 miles an hour topping out. So that actually might keep the course a little more wet, but I don't think it will have too much of an effect overall on the course. I don't think it would bring scoring conditions way down to where we'll see like a bunch of 65s or 66s. I still think it's going to play Oakmont tough. But yeah, keep firing in those questions or thoughts, opinions in the chat. That's why we've got it up. And so thank you, Colton, for participating, and thanks for watching as well. Speaking of scoring, let's take a look at how the course played today. So overall, it was let's see, just refresh it. Just want to make sure we got everybody in there. So it played about 4.6 over par today. Front nine was tougher than the back by nearly a stroke. Front nine was 2.72 over par on average. Back nine just under 2 over par at 1.92. Only 2 holes played under par. The fourth hole, the par 5, saw a lot of birdies, a couple of eagles as well. 4 eagles on the day on number 4. That was the easiest hole on the course, playing at just under a tenth of a stroke under par. And then 17, 1 eagle there today. Only 4 doubles or worse. Saw 43 birdies and 26 bogeys. That's playing at 7/100ths under par. So barely under par. Toughest hole on the course is number 9. Only 8 birdies today, 58 bogeys, 16 doubles or worse. It played at 0.54 over par. Second hardest hole was number 3 at 0.48 over par. Did see an eagle there, 16 birdies, but 62 bogeys and 63 pars, and then 14 doubles or worse. So you're looking at pretty much, that's half of the field roughly is bogeying or worse on number 3, which is just pretty bananas stuff to think about. 15 was just behind 3, third hardest hole of the day, 54 bogeys, 15 doubles or worse, 12 birdies, and it played at 0.47 over par. This start is brutal. I mean, you've got number 1 playing at 0.24 over par, number 2 playing at 0.4 over par, and number 3 playing at almost half a stroke over par. That's what you get started out with before you go to 4, 5, and 6, where there are some opportunities to get a couple of strokes back. 5 is one of the easier holes of the day, just playing at 0.1 over par. 6, tougher at 0.25 over par, but it's out there, especially on 4 and 5, where 5 did see 21 birdies. Let's see. Cut line right now, probability, Data Golf has it at 6 over par. Some of those guys that are sitting at 6 over, some notable names, that would be Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, Maverick McNeely. You have Tony Finau and Jason Day, Andrew Novak, are some of the notables. Richard Bland, Jose Luis Ballester, also at 6 over. 7 over is another probable cut line. Minwoo Lee, Justin Rose, Mason Howell, the 17-year-old. That's a really cool story, who ended up winning the qualifier down in Georgia. He is at 7 over. Nick Dunlap as well at 7 over. So cut line probability, it looks like it's Data Golf has it at 40% chance that it will be 6 over for the cut. 31% chance that 7 over will be the cut. It's gonna play tough tomorrow, and that goes back to what we were talking about with the weather. I think even if there's a little bit of rain and maybe not as much wind, it's still gonna play really damn difficult, and you will see these scores continue to go up, and that's why I think the lead is, like I said, JJ Spaun shoots 70. He might have a multi-stroke lead by the end of tomorrow. Data Golf, the probability of winning, they have John Rahm at 15.8%. That's the best percent. Then they have JJ Spaun at 9.4%. Then Scotty Scheffler is third at 7.3%. And Scotty is 7 strokes off the lead. He shot 3 over today, and he has the third best percentage or probability of winning, according to Data Golf. It's just unbelievable. And then Colin Morikawa is fourth at 6%. So some interesting names for who Data Golf is still seeing as at least their probability of winning. Let's talk a little bit about Colin Morikawa getting himself even par 70, birdie 3, birdie 10, birdie 18. I'm a little bit surprised at Morikawa coming out in 70, but he's such a good iron player and he hits the ball so well that, despite him losing 2.59 strokes on the putting green, which is one of the worst of the day, he makes up for it on his approach. 4.63. That puts him at third. Remember, Siwoo Kim was the leader in that department, but that's how he's able to make up for it. And he could very much sneak up the leaderboard and could be a guy that shoots one of those low numbers, or could just steadily shoot a 69 and then 70, 70, and puts himself right in the mix. That put him at 1 under for the championship if he were to do that. But Morikawa's up there. Jordan Spieth, I think, is a little bit of a surprise. Had a roller coaster of a round with a pair of 35s, but he had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birdies, and of course, matching that with 5 bogeys. He was able to gain 3.5 strokes on approach, but it's amazing the way how Spieth he somehow finds his way around even par, whether it's on the PGA Tour or obviously here. That just kind of seems to be his game. It's not what we saw 10 years ago at Chambers Bay, where he's going to go out there and grasp firm control of a tournament. He just kind of, it's all over the place. It's wild. It's entertaining, but he got in there at even, and because of that, it could lean into Spieth's favor to keep crawling up the leaderboard. But I think he's going to need himself a really good day tomorrow, because he's someone that can shoot himself out of the championship. He's one of the rare, I guess, stars who can play himself out rather than like a Scotty Scheffler who could play himself into a championship. Denny McCarthy with a good day at even. Talked a little bit about Russell Henley. How about Adam Scott shooting even today? Only had 1 par on what was his first 9. He started on the back 9. Had 1 par. 4 birdies. He had 5 birdies and 3 bogeys. Shot 33. Pair of bogeys on the front 9, which was his back 9, coming in for 37. He just he's been here. I think this is his 3rd time, if I remember right, playing at the U.S. Open at Oakmont alone. Again, not really having a good year at all, certainly by his standards. His best finish of the year is, well, it's T15 at the Century, but we're not going to count that. T19 at the PGA Championship. That's it. He hasn't finished inside of the top 20 anywhere else on the PGA Tour. Missed the cut at the Masters, but here he is, the ageless wonder, figuring it out once again. His previous results at Oakmont: missed the cut in 2007, and in 2016 finished T18. Let's see, any other interesting names? Robert McIntyre had a good putting day today. Again, we'll see where he's at after tomorrow and Saturday, because you could play well tomorrow, but how do you play on the weekend? That's where these championships are made, and that's why it's called moving day, because you see guys move up the leaderboard, but you also see guys move back down the leaderboard, and we see it time and time again. And even at the PGA Championship last month, we saw a hodgepodge of names that weren't really your typical names at the top of the leaderboard at a major, and they end up falling back, and eventually the best in the world end up rising to the occasion. So we've got the notables that are back here: Scotty Scheffler at 3 over, Bryson at 3 over. Those are the two favorites, and it's crazy to say that they're not out of it by any means. Remember what I said with the Data Golf win probabilities. Scheffler has the third best percentage of probability to win. Bryson DeChambeau is at 4.2, which is the same as Brooks Koepka, who's just 2 shots back. So Data Golf still has a lot of faith in both of those guys, as do I. I think some frustration was shown from Scotty Scheffler to U.S. Open. He showed some frustration, actually a lot of frustration last year at Pinehurst. But sometimes that seems to fire him up, and sometimes that just completely throws him for a loop. I think tomorrow we'll see. If he bounces back with 68, I think watch out. I think that's going to put the field on notice. If he's sitting at 1 over at the worst, I think Scheffler, believe it or not, I think that the probability of him winning would actually go up according to Data Golf. And I think DeChambeau has that capability as well to fire a 68, 67 even. And who knows what playing in the different waves, if that will have an effect as well. Today, the morning wave was a little over 5 over par. The afternoon wave was at about 4.1 over par, and the back 9 played over 3 over par, or the front 9 played over 3 over par. The back 9 played just a little over 2 over par for the morning wave. So that's another thing. How does the morning versus afternoon wave play out? So many different variables. That's why trying to pick a winner and trying to handicap these it's so difficult, because you have a guy like JJ Spaun, who is a surprise to be the first round leader. Tristan Lawrence, a guy that no one knew of 10 months ago or 11 months ago at the Open, before the Open Championship. Even a lot of golf people didn't really know who he was. And here he is again inside the top 5 at a major. It's just what makes these championships so much fun to watch and so much fun to pay attention to and cover, because you never know who will come out of these as the champion. And then, of course, you have your heavy hitters like the Brooks Koepkas and Jon Rahms, and even a guy like Adam Scott, who seems to only get younger as he gets older. Almost 45 years old, 5 years away from playing on the senior tour, and he is right in the thick of it at arguably one of the hardest U.S. Open venues. It's incredibly impressive stuff, and it's what makes the U.S. Open such a great championship. As far as other guys, I mean, I don't know if anybody below the 3 overs. It'll be interesting to see what Rory does tomorrow. 4 over today. Did not have a good second 9. He also started on the back 9, went out in 33, and you're thinking, okay, got a lot of talk about the driver and just a weird message the other day in this press conference when he just wouldn't give a straight answer about his driver situation, at least as to what driver he would be using this week. I understand the frustration of having his name leaked to the media in one way or another about, I understand that perspective of it'd probably be annoying because people are just using your name to garner clicks for their headlines or tweets or whatever. But he just the fact that he couldn't just give a straight answer as to what driver model he was playing this week. And saying well, just go out on the range. Well, we're here at the press conference. Just it makes, by not answering those questions, it makes it a bigger story. And that leads right into him not talking at the press conference again, which is that's bad. That's just really bad. We saw it at the PGA Championship where, okay, maybe you don't want to talk after Thursday, and probably a lot of people would talk about the driver stuff. I get that. But the less he talks, the more people are going to want answers out of him. And there's going to be more scrutiny that comes around with that. And I don't know what the game plan is for Rory as far as his press conference and media availability. He's all happy and giddy at the Masters and the Players and the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, but then when you're not playing well at the PGA Championship and certainly finishing, at 6 over on his second 9, yeah, that's a bummer, but you still got to answer the questions, and it's just going to bring more unnecessary attention. He's one of the biggest names, if not the biggest name in golf. He's the face of the PGA Tour, and he's been around for 20 years. All you have to do is just do the Belichick method and just give some non-answers, check the box, and get out of there. And it's just not a good precedent to keep setting when you play bad. Oh, I'm not going to show up. And I don't like that. It really rubs me the wrong way. And it's not as a media member. It's just, I use the Bill Buckner example. And I will always use that example. Bill Buckner, after the 86 World Series, has the ground ball go through his leg. We've all seen the clip. Sat there and took and answered every single question. Greg Norman, 96 Masters, answered the questions. He's, and one of the great quotes about how the sun will still rise tomorrow. Like that, it's those kinds of stuff where you get a lot of respect from people for answering questions and standing up and facing the media, even when you don't play your best, because you can't just have it one way where, I'm only going to talk when I play well. So it's starting to become a disappointing trend. Colton talked about Bryson being 127th in strokes gained putting currently. Not sure if that turns around immediately. Yeah, that's definitely something that Bryson struggles with, is the putter. And losing over a stroke and a half putting. When he putts well, he plays well. And also we've seen his irons be all over the place, right? But when he played well at the PGA Championship, gained a little over 3/4 of a stroke putting. When he won in Korea on LIV, gained over a stroke putting. So he's had a good putting year this year. Actually gained strokes putting in 5 consecutive events before last week, where at Virginia he lost 1/4 of a stroke putting, but still finished T4, was able to make up for it. You can't do that here at Oakmont. So I agree. How do you turn that around in such a quick time frame? That's going to be a tough one for DeChambeau to come back from, if he can't get the putter going, because you look at a lot of the guys that are inside the, let's just say, top 19, almost every single one of them are gaining strokes putting. Now, there are some guys like Colin Morikawa, who lost over 2.5 strokes putting and still was able to shoot even. But with him being at 3 over now, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier, you want to do a lot of your work early. So then when you get to the weekend, no one's ever cruising at a major, but you want less work to do on the weekends. So now he's going to have to put in a lot of extra work this week for the rest of the week, as opposed to what he's done in the past. And last year at the U.S. Open, gained 1.20 strokes putting, got him a win. 2020, ironically, also 1.20 strokes gained putting. So he's going to have to flip that around really quick. So Colton, you're definitely right onto something about how he needs to get himself back in the green with his putting. But he's a guy he's one of these rare guys at 3 over or worse that I think can make the comeback. Him and Scotty are certainly two of them. I think Patrick Reed is sneaky. I know he didn't finish well with the triple on 18, but the other 17 holes he played very well. And yeah, if he goes super low, he's already won a major before. And with his pedigree, he's a guy that he could hang around and he could find himself again high up on the leaderboard. And if some of these names stay around for Saturday and Sunday, especially on Sunday, who knows? There will be a low number out there at Oakmont on Sunday. It's just a matter of what will that low number look like. Let's see. Anything else that's worth mentioning before we wrap things up? I suppose if you have any other final thoughts, spew those out quickly. Just going over the leaderboard once more. Again, really cool story with James Nicklaus being in under par. I mean, one of 10 guys to shoot under par today. And the final qualifier, again, like I mentioned earlier, he came out of the New Jersey qualifier, won the whole thing, that whole qualifier at 7 under. Let's see, some other notables as far as guys from Washington. Brady Calkins from Chehalis shot 12 over today. I believe on the 13th hole, had the closest shot of the day. Put it to under 2 feet. There, Alistair Doherty from Vancouver had a birdieless 80 today, 10 over par. Joe Highsmith shot 9 over today, had a couple of birdies on 14 and 17. Riki Kawamoto was in a Star Wars t-shirt today, which I think we can all say that is a first at a major championship. I would love to see if he tried to pull that move at Augusta, what the Green Jackets would have to say if they went berserk over some of the Jason Day outfits with the Malbon wear. I can only imagine that, but that was a humorous humorous thing on social media to see him in that. Anything else that's worth mentioning? Justin Thomas at 6 over. He's going to be right around the cut line. Same thing with Justin Rose, Minwoo Lee as well. Denny McCarthy, T5 or better, incoming. Lock it in. I love Denny McCarthy. He's a guy that, he putts so well. And that's something that I was talking about, I believe yesterday in our preview show, was the fact that he's such a good putter that a guy that putts well and just puts it in the fairway and hits the green, that could be it. That could be somebody who puts themselves in the top 5, in the top 3. Now, he only hit 8 of 14 fairways today, and 10 of 18 greens, which isn't really all that spectacular. And he only gained 1.32 strokes putting, which is not what we typically see out of Denny, but he's widely regarded as perhaps the best putter in the world. He's someone that I think could be really steady, and it would be really cool to see him get a top 5 or a top 10. And hopefully he gets into the winner's circle on the PGA Tour, because he's one of those guys that just a grinder. And occasionally finds himself in the spotlight on the PGA Tour, not really on a major global stage. And here's an opportunity for Denny McCarthy to perhaps cash in that top 5 for Colton. Well, Colton, I really appreciate you joining the show in the chat. Join us again tomorrow. And if anybody else is watching, leave your comments down below. I will be seeing those comments before the show tomorrow. And as you saw, I interact with the chat. So if you have any thoughts or comments or hot takes or whatever you want to, observations, whatever, toss it in there and we'll have a good conversation about it. But that really does it for first round recap. Again, JJ Spaun, leader after a bogey-free 66 at 4 under. What will the lead be tomorrow? That would be something that you can comment or throw in the chat late, but that will be something I'm curious to see. I think 70 either is a share of the lead or is the outright lead, and it could be by a couple of shots, but I'm curious, what do you guys think the lead will be after round 2? Thank you again for watching. Make sure you follow us on X at YourESN. Follow us on Facebook, Eli Sports Network. We will be, I'll be putting out the tweets and the posts or whatever, the posts on social media, getting those out there so you know when our shows are coming up. You can always rewatch the shows on our YouTube platform, Eli Sports Network also. Take care. Have a great and safe Thursday. We'll see you again tomorrow for round 2 recap, and we'll see who makes the cut and who does not. Have a good one, everybody.